Good afternoon. We'll start the presentation in about 2 to 3 minutes, just to let people come on at the top of the hour, and we'll catch up with you shortly. Thanks. Good afternoon, and welcome to the first quarter of 2018 product management update. My name is Mike Walker. I'm the Chief Technical Officer of Peppermint, and hopefully today we'll talk about some of the areas of work we've been working on busily over the last couple of months, but also to share with you some of the ways we want to engage with you in regards to sharing our roadmap and our technology going forward with yourselves. If we go to this sort of agenda for today, we've got a very sort of action-packed sort of set of functionality with some demos at the end of the day with Tom today. I'll start off with a welcome and introduction to our team. Some of the new members, some people you may not have heard of or spoken to before now. Also talk a little bit about our new approach to our product planning and our delivery approach as to how we want to improve the way we release updates, but also to try and make things more deterministic, to give you information as early as possible into the planning, to give you the chance to plan and sort of adopt and get ready for taking some of the great software that we're building this year. Additionally, we'll then go through some of our roadmap and talk a little bit more about how we wish to sort of share the roadmap and how we're looking to sort of give you insights as to what's coming through, how you can feed back into the roadmap, and further elaborate as to the sort of areas that we're focusing on, and talk about feature forums, which is a new way we're looking to engage with you guys. And then the follow-up really is all about our commitment. Really, we want to improve our communication, focus on how we deliver the information to you as early as possible, but also get your feedback as early as possible to make sure that we're developing the things that you're looking for, which is affecting you guys, and providing the great software that we're looking to deliver today. So we now go on to the next slide, please. So in effect, we've got a couple of new members in the team. We have a new product manager called Lauren Colbeck, who's come in since early January. She's got some experience in regards to sort of product management from I won't tell you the name of the other firm, but actually outside of legal, but actually driven in regards to sort of more traditional product management sense. And she's been a great enlightenment to the team to bring out some fresh ideas as to how we deliver our communications. And we'll be obviously talking to her in regards to some of the new roadmap features. We've got Tom Willis, who's been the product manager for the sort of the front office functionality in the CRM, who'll be demonstrating later on. And also recently, just started a couple of weeks ago, John Caulfield, who's our cloud product manager. John will be more focused on the delivery of our cloud solution, and his primary focus is about the integrations and how we deliver our product as a cloud solution, being that as our key goal, obviously, going forward. So one of the things I want to sort of elaborate on, the key values that I often talk to in regards to how we look at our engagement with yourselves, is the core values. And ultimately, one of the things I talk to as the 4 pillars in here are engagement, insight, streamline, and extending. And really, the sort of key pillars really are around how we create great experiences and engagement with the user. One of the key goals we want to try and do is make people want to use Peppermint and actually drive a value out of that. So our engagement is about trying to make sure we get product advisory boards and early adoption programs fundamentally to allow us to get more communication with you as the customers of our product, but also to make sure that we get that early feedback into the product lifecycle. Additional features we're also looking for is around how things like customer feedback areas, and we've got some exciting areas around our new support portal that we're looking to release soon, and we'll show you some of the early sort of deliveries on that in regards to ideas. And it's a site which really allows you to see the whole of the roadmap, but also vote up your ideas as to how you are. So again, trying to get as early understanding of what's really hot for needing to be focused on earlier in the development life cycle to get it done quicker, instead of doing some things which might have been done in isolation in the past. Following through on that, we talk about insight. Again, one of the key values of the Peppermint platform is actually the single view of data. And again, really sort of trying to build on that as we get into CX and the value of the new Dynamics platform that we've now got advantage for the CX users, is to build out those business applications to facilitate more integrations to other systems and really bring out that information into embedding Power BI and other solutions that will allow you to get insights to get your business management information right where you want to see it within the user experience. And again, further sort of steps around that are about streamlining the user experience. We have a lot of work that we've been focusing on the user experience, and some of that's going to start coming out in the feature pack that we'll talk about soon, but really to drive the efficiencies of using the product. We hear from you quite loud and clear that there's a lot of areas that we could really streamline as to how we deliver our solution, but then the focus as to how we then look at that is by using user experience samples to sort of say, here's some mock-ups of designs, and here's some of the challenges that we see as to how we can streamline and deliver 100% coverage of the required functionality, but focusing on the persona and the real specific uses of, say, a fee earner or an admin or a partner needing certain functionality against, say, the finance team. So we're looking to try and really streamline those down and focus really where it makes sense. Again, looking to extend, we talk about the R&D investment from Microsoft. Obviously, a lot of the value that we get is actually a lot of the core value of the Dynamics platform is actually that investment program. So looking to add value to the Azure and Microsoft Office functionality that comes out of the box now and the more integrated solutions which are going on there. But obviously, one of the key values of that is focusing on the cloud, so adopting a hybrid approach to sort of provide more value functionalities like application insights and some of the telemetry information we now do to help streamline and add value to our performance of the product are things that have come from Microsoft R&D labs, which are really helpful to us as we grow forward. But again, these are the key pillars that we look to try and drive through all of the development life cycles. So the next thing I want to talk to is a little bit more about the current delivery vehicle. and how we currently release a product today and how we're looking to change it. So today, our current release model is typically to deliver 2 major releases a year, and typically we have circa 5 peakups or bug fixes per release done throughout the cycle. Now, obviously, that takes a lot of effort of the development team to actually manage back all the specific versions that we support. But then also in driving that, we obviously have the multiple versions that go back even further. And actually behind that, we've got circa 30% of effort is actually spent managing previous releases, updates, and bug fixes. And what we want to try and do is make it as easy as possible for us to transition from that to deliver the solution functional features as soon as possible, but also provide a level of quality and reassurance that we're actually getting the things that you want to do first, but in driving so it requires us to change some of the release approach that we've been doing today. And ultimately, if you look at the key challenge behind that, if you look at typically about a 6-month wait for any new product enhancement for a request to go through to potential development window to be done, it is obviously too long a window that we want to try and shorten. But if you look today, if you look at CX 2017, which was released back in autumn 2016, we obviously released a number of peakups through that cycle, then released CX 2017 R2, and then further did some releases of peakup 1s, peakup 2s on that version, but supported back all the way back to CX 2017. Which obviously is culminated in autumn or late last year. We released CX 2018, and obviously now we're having to release the versions and support all the way back to those releases, and that's obviously quite a challenge to us as a delivery to manage all of those different versions. And what we're trying to do is improve the product and the quality to you guys, and also the features that you're looking to deliver, but also in doing so is making sure that we can deliver a more deterministic approach to allow us to get us all to get onto the latest and greatest versions as soon as possible. So in mind, what we wanted to do is talk about the core goals of the new delivery model. So key value for me at the moment is to make sure we spend more time developing product enhancements and the new functionality that you are all asking for. This is not done in isolation. We actually have a lot of different data streams of people asking and requesting for functionality today. And really the key driver for me is to make sure that we take all of that information, share that with you as early as possible, allow you to vote on it to allow us to get a weighting behind what's going to impact and give you the value back to you as the people using our software. But then to do that, we need to make sure we have the time available to actually do that work. So a true agile delivery mechanism is to try and release as soon as things are ready to go into the product and actually release them out the door. So to a certain extent, it's to try and give you that functionality as soon as possible, not go dark and have maybe a 1-year or a 2-year release cycle like traditional vendors would be to on-premise solutions per se, but to really try and fine-tune out the way we deliver, more like a Facebook and a software delivery vehicle through the internet-based time, which basically means there's more releases more frequently, but done in a way that allows you to control the value functions or the feature functions that we enable, so that in effect we can keep releasing these versions, but in doing so, we can say certain things will be not enabled unless you opt in on those features. So it gives you the ability to get the latest and greatest, the most secure, the most performant, the most manageable solutions that we're bringing out today, but actually anything which is maybe a little bit more awkward to manage in the sense of a fast-track release cycle is to focus on things like having a feature flag for a set of new functionality. So to that, what our new release approach is in effect to have 2 rings of delivery. We have a standard ring, which basically in effect is our major release ring. So every year there'll be a master release of CX 2018, goes to CX 2019, goes to CX 2020. Each one of those releases are typically will be supported by bug fixes. So anything which is Sev 1, Sev 2, and general bugs that get raised will get triaged and evaluated and understood and added to the bug catalog. In effect, those are the things that will be happening in the standard ring. There'll be no net features added to those releases on the standard ring. Again, that makes it easier for us to maintain and not have to backtrack different versions back into that release. But also it focuses on the driver of actually the accelerated ring is really about our new delivery approach that's going to give you the ability to get on board and actually understand some new features and functionality that we're bringing out. We'll talk a little bit about what we've done so far this year. But a regular feature pack release throughout the year, in effect, is bug fixes and additional functionality that allows us to bring that to you as soon as it's available and release it at a regular cadence with as many things as possible understood. And again, thinking about that, feature packs will have functional enhancements as well as obviously bug fixes. And again, customers can choose which model suits their general needs. To the next slide, please. So in effect, if you look at the standard ring today, the 1 major release per year, if you look at how this has happened previously, CX 2018 was released at the end of last year. So in effect, there'll be update releases released throughout this year. And obviously at the end of the year, that will then become the next release, which is CX 2019. Again, only updates and bug fixes, just to reiterate that information there. So we go to the next slide. An accelerated ring is more like the typical SaaS delivery. So we're not looking to release every day, which is, actually Facebook releases every two times a day. But actually, we're not looking to go that fast, so we're not trying to go at light speed. But what we are trying to do is actually give you the value as soon as we feel it's appropriate, and looking at about a quarterly release cycle. Behind this, if you look at the major feature packs that we're looking to do, we'll give you as much heads up information. I'll talk to a little bit about when we're looking to commit to you in the information. But actually, we're looking at trying to drive the value of combining all of the value for a release, including all of the bug fixes from the previous release. So in effect, if you wanted to go to feature pack 2, you'd get all of the values of feature pack 1, but also the bug fixes that would happen in the time between those two. So it's an iterative or cumulative update as we go through the release. So if you look at that example, in late 2017, when we released CX 2018, there's already been feature pack 1. We're just about to release feature pack 2. And at the end of the year, in effect, that version will then become the main standard release, and that will roll into CX 2019, and then we'll start this process over again. Obviously, all of these releases and these cycles are reviewed on a regular basis, so we could look to change this from your feedback as well. But ultimately, this is the sort of driver that I think we're hoping to give you this information now to get your feedback, to also understand how we can then deliver the product as quickly and as successfully as possible. Go to the next slide. So a couple of frequently asked questions. Again, I won't read them generally verbatim, but in effect, just to talk about some of the things that we've been asked as we've discussed this with some of the customers we've already talked to about this. Can we move between rings back and forth? In effect, no, we can move from standard to an accelerated ring, but actually all releases are cumulative. So once you get into that accelerated release, you're actually on that track, and therefore the bug fixes and things are tied to that version as we go forward. You could revert back to the standard ring at the end of the year when the major releases come back so it realigns back to the original release, and that's the intent behind that. In addition, will everyone in the accelerated ring be upgraded at the same time? Basically, the way we're looking at engineering for delivery of the product is possibly looking at staggering this. So we could have two sets of customers on in our cloud that would go at a slightly staggered timeline, just to give operational challenges and/or timings to allow us to soak test things as we go to release. Again, feature packs, the target is typically to be quarterly, and we'll actually sort of show you a little bit later on as to how we're looking to share the information in advance. So when we go into our design mode and what we're looking to put in, we're looking for you to vote upon features that you wish to put higher up the priority list. That then allows us to set out the next objectives for the next feature pack. And the idea is to look at sharing the next 2 feature packs in advance to allow you as much time as possible to give your feedback, and also for us to gather that feedback as well. Again, I don't want to go through all of these specifically out, but actually, the key drivers out of this is really about us making sure that we can communicate with you as many things as possible well up in front. So in the examples around documentation, we're looking to try and make sure that the actual full feature pack documentation will be issued a month ahead of actually going to our non-production environment. And actually in driving towards that is then to make sure that that feedback then allows you to test in your non-production environments and ensure that you're comfortable with the changes. And we'll also work into the documentation. We're looking to put things like impact statements and areas that allow you to validate and understand the areas of development that we've touched, to give you a better, more focused ability to refine your training program or test program to make sure you're confident of any changes that are impacting on any change in the feature pack release. Again, looking to the accelerated ring in development and the standard, the idea is that you can't run separate releases. In effect, if you want to do development, you need to have your development environment on the same release as what you're actually in production. So we need to make sure that the non-production environments are in the same sync as the production environments. And again, things like the leaf, we're actually looking to do some work on leaf to make them more defensive. So in effect, we don't need to upgrade leaf of every release, but we're also trying to do some work to allow it to become self-healing, in the sense that leaf will become self-automated to any updates it needs to do. It's some work, it's on the backlog at the moment, but it's also to try and minimize any of the impact to you guys, to actually allow you to not have to worry about that functionality being updated at any time. It will actually self-update in the future. Feature flags is a key area. So what we're looking to do is basically have a gatekeeper or an approach that says any new functionality that we feel is preview or something that we want to get feedback on, we might put a feature flag that allows you to turn on that feature as an opt-in. The idea fundamentally is to allow us to get early feedback on, say, a change of the design or something that allows us to work with some specific customers on a feature forum basis. And actually, the feature flag allows you to opt into that and then feedback anything that comes back. But the original functionality will stay the same to allow you to at least maintain the existing functionality if you don't wish to go onto that. So that's one of the ways we're looking to try and evolve our product. So we want to get as many people on the accelerated ring as possible, because you will get all the latest bug fixes. You will also get some of the new features. And some of the features might not be seen as something that would be optional, but there may be user experience features or performance enhancements. These are things we want you to get as soon as we can, because it makes everyone have a better experience generally. Again, when do we look to upgrade? The schedule in regards to going to standard ring, major updates actually are looked at tried to be implemented within a 6-month window. So at the moment, we have quite a fragmented set of users because of the original V1 product that we're obviously looking to proactively get people to CX. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is trying to make that a little bit more deterministic to try and get a window of buy-in. And obviously, there has been a large investment from some of our customers from the technology requirements from the original early version 1-based users on CRM 2011 through to CX, which is on CRM 2016. So obviously that window hopefully will become less complicated to manage, and therefore we want to try and keep on top of that, because the more people we have on the later versions, the more we're able to invest in making sure that's the latest and greatest. Going on to that, I'll now hand over, I believe, from this point. If there's any questions you've got on this topic, in the webinar, there's an area that you can put questions into that. We'll go to the end of the session and we'll start looking at the questions to review them. But also what we'll do is we'll take all those questions offline and we'll follow up with all of the attendees today and actually answer any questions if we don't get a chance to cover them today. But please do give your questions. It's a very key area for us that we wanted to share with you today. It's not that easy to explain it, so I hope I've given you a level of understanding of the principles, but the core values to us is to make sure that we embrace a new delivery mechanism that allows us to be able to get more work focused on the new functionality and the enhancements that you're wanting to do against actually what we've been doing today. A lot of time has been spent trying to backtrack a lot of those versions back. And now I'll hand over to Lauren, who's going to talk a little bit more in regards to our approach and our roadmap.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. So I'm Lauren Colbeck. It's the first time I've spoken to many of you. So I've just joined in January, as Mike said at the start. And what I want to do today is start by taking you through some of the roadmap concepts and the communication and processes around that we want to put in place as a product team. And then from there, Tom will be taking you through some more of the detail of what's actually in the roadmap at present. So just around the roadmap itself, it's not meant to be a static document that we just issue every couple of months. We want to make sure that we're putting the processes and opening up the communication channels around that to ensure that you've got visibility and you're able to understand what's coming in advance and also contribute in feedback to what's being planned out in that roadmap. So to that end, in addition to publishing it in the support portal where the release documentation is, we're going to be holding these webinars as well to talk through them. And what we also want to do is produce statement of intent documents that will come out with the roadmap as well. And what these will do is provide some additional level of information around the feature packs which are currently in development and also scheduled for development, particularly for those of you who might opt to go into the accelerated release cycle. Just gives you that early visibility of what's coming so that you can plan. We also want to, Mike mentioned a little bit around this ideas portal, and again, Tom will tell you more in a bit, but this is to make sure that the things that are getting into the roadmap are coming straight from yourselves. So tell us what's important to you, tell us what's interesting, you can see each other's ideas and vote around those, and that's going to help us make sure that that roadmap is a true reflection of your priorities. And then once things are on the roadmap, it's important that we make sure that Peppermint has understood your requirements and is developing to meet them. So feature forums are going to help us to do this. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the feature forums now before we get into the roadmap. So what we'll be doing is focusing on the certain specific features and functions of the product. And we want to basically open these up, and the format may change depending on what the topic is. But what we want is to find our subject matter experts. So what are the aspects of the product that you're using often, that you have a particular interest in? If you can tell us, if you're interested to sign up and participate in these, that would be great. So there's going to be a survey coming out after this webinar, which will be a first indication where if there's any areas of the product you're particularly interested in, that you're keen on seeing some change, you've got some ideas, it'd be great for you to let us know that those are areas that you'd like to focus on, so that as we schedule out future forums, we know who to send invites to. And what we want to do with these actual forums is keep the audience relatively limited so that we can make best use of your time. So we're thinking about 5 representatives per forum, but that's not to say that you won't get an opportunity to feedback, because we will be posting all the output into the ideas forum so that you can continue to contribute. But this allows us to take a focused group and with a time commitment to kind of work through things. So it could take an hour, it could take up to 3 perhaps. And we might have webinars, we might have additional follow-up conversations just to help refine what's there and really make sure that what we're building is a true reflection of what it is that you want to include. So that's just another way that we're going to engage over what's coming up in the roadmap. So with the roadmap itself, before we get into actually showing you what's in it, I think it helps to kind of set some context for how we formatted it. So in addition to having clear priorities for each item, we're using themes and categories to help us group them into meaningful deliverables. So Mike started out talking about some of the core values at the beginning of the presentation. And the themes are high-level ways that we can ensure that we're reflecting those values in what we build. So when we look at the scope of feature packs over a year, everything that's going to end up in a major release, we can make sure that we're adding value in each of those areas. And then categories build up around the actual priorities of the items. So in each feature pack in the roadmap, we want to make sure that we are picking groups of features and functionalities to develop that complement each other. So not just all of the priority ones, but if we're looking at time recording as a category, for example, are there some smaller usability enhancements that, if we deliver them as part of that feature pack, really help to fit and finish and drive value in that area. So it's just to make sure we're making best use of the prioritization that we get from you and deliver value along the way. So the roadmap is going to be published in the support portal, and we'll be doing that quarterly, along with any of the statement of intent information for 2 feature packs out. So with the view of the roadmap and the information it's going to cover, from a general perspective, it's going to show what's just been completed in terms of a feature pack, the one that's in development, and the one that's planned next with the features locked in. So you've always got a 6-month rolling view of what's being developed and what's planned. On top of that, we also have what we're calling our medium and longer term views. Those show us the next top prioritized features to go into a feature pack, as well as those that are a bit longer out. And we'll get into what that means for this particular version of the roadmap in just a moment. But just to reiterate again, when we put this roadmap out there with the supporting information, we are still going to be feeding off the ideas portals and feature forums to keep it growing as we go and make sure that it's always reflective of the latest priorities. So what Tom's about to show you in a minute is going to be a summary of the roadmap. We're going to be publishing the roadmap by the end of the month in the support portal, and it's going to be an extended version of what you're going to see in today's presentation. And that's because in today's presentation, in the interest of time, we're going to be focusing on feature packs 1, 2, and 3 in what we show you, and touching upon some of the medium-term items. But we want to make sure that you have access to that wider view, as well as the statement of intent information for feature packs 2 and 3. So that will be available in the support portal before the end of the month, and we'll be able to confirm a date in the near future, a specific date for that. But what Tom's going to show you now is what's been done in feature pack 1, which is completed. We've got feature pack 2 currently in development, and feature pack 3, which is planned and scheduled in. So that takes us up to about July in terms of development. Again, we've got some things earmarked as medium term that are looking to fit into the CX 2019 major release, and also all the other items that we're looking for into CX 2020. But we will be seeking your input on that to make sure we've got the right things in mind and are reflecting your priorities. So keep an eye out for those surveys and the idea portal in future. So from here, Tom, I'll hand over to you to take us through some of the detail of the current roadmap.
Thanks very much, Lauren. Okay, hi everyone, Tom Willis here from the product management team. Just give us 2 seconds while we kind of switch over presenters. You should now be able to see my screen with feature pack 1 highlighted. If one of the members of my team can confirm if you can't, otherwise I'll just kind of carry on. So as Lauren said, what I want to do is just kind of talk you through some of the detail basically of what's coming in feature packs 1, 2, and 3. This isn't an exhaustive list of all of the kind of features and user stories basically that we've kind of got in those features, but kind of picking out some of the highlights. And as Lauren said, we'll be releasing kind of statement of intent documents which will go into more detail around some of these pieces of functionality. So in feature pack 1, which is actually complete, and to be clear, actually, anybody migrating up to CX 2018 would get feature pack 1 regardless of what ring they're entering. It's done, so kind of, as people move up, they will get these. Just kind of running through those different product areas then. So firstly, we've done a bit of work around document management, and that's kind of document merging and storage against leads and opportunities. So for people wanting to do things like merge tender documents, quotes, and store them against a relevant kind of sales record, you'll be able to do that. Filing emails with a default document type, which is one that we've been asked for by a few people. We've then done some work around financial postings, and this is really sort of usability and customization. So in Transrec, things like adding specific columns, giving people the ability to kind of customize views there. Okay, so a lot of usability work around the Transrec hub. Similarly, around billing, in Bill Finder, the ability to do things like export search results to Excel, again, sort of, additional columns, additional searching criteria, and so on. Drilling into the bill detail, retention of sort order as you kind of log in and out of that Bill Finder. So a lot of sort of finance usability enhancements, really. And then if I click to my next slide, there are a couple of extra multi-company enhancements coming, maintaining a separate chart of accounts for multiple companies, and some around reporting related to that. And then from a CRM perspective, we've kind of done phase 2 of our Connection Explorer functionality, which you would have seen sort of previewed in the CX 2018 webinars. We've enhanced the UI there. We've introduced more of a breadcrumb style navigation, given people the ability to do things like from the Connection Explorer itself, as you're kind of working through who works where and who knows who, the ability to create opportunities and engagements from within that same UI. Alongside that as well, we get a ton of performance improvements. So that's feature pack 1, which has been released, or it is available essentially. Moving on to feature pack 2, which is currently in development. This is currently what the guys are working on at the moment. That's due out in April. Again, we've got some document management enhancements. The big thing really, sort of the ability to be able to merge templates directly from within the document hub and actually sort of select a recently merged template from that list. So there's a nice sort of chunk of work around the document hub there. Things like being able to control the sort order of word merge tables in your template documents, email specific search criteria within Doc Hub, a couple of kind of usability things around hiding version panel and retaining customizations and so on. The big chunk on purchase ledger is going to be the ability to reverse purchase ledger payments and invoices, and like I said, the detail for some of these will kind of come out in the statement of intent document that we'll be releasing shortly. There's some general ledger enhancements around WIP movements in the general ledger. Then moving into banking, similarly, again, this kind of usability sort of enhancement stuff. We've done a chunk of improvements around the auto bank rec, so improved matching, some additional filters, some usability things like labeling changes and so on that you can kind of see on your screen. There, like I said, the detail for this will kind of come out shortly. Continued in feature pack 2, it's quite a lot of stuff we've managed to squeeze in here. Again, usability and customizability of the billing hubs, very similar to what we're doing with the Transrec. Again, just extra columns, etc. We are adding the ability to reverse time against non-matter records. There's a chunk of work that's happened around reporting, just around standardizing the styling across all of our kind of core reports. Some of the older ones in particular weren't kind of adhering to an internal style guide that we've got. So we've tried to standardize some of those kind of core reports for you. In the CRM sort of section, we kind of label it CRM, but it kind of applies to most actually, is the GDPR phase 2 work. And what we're doing there is giving you guys the ability to control which entities and fields are affected by the GDPR extraction and anonymization processes. So if you're storing any information that you're worried about from a GDPR perspective on any of your custom fields or in any of your custom entities, okay, you'll have the ability to control what gets anonymized and what gets extracted. There's a couple of integrations pieces of work as well that's going alongside all of this. We are going to be integrating with InfoTrack, which is an online search provider, but it's a kind of it offers all sorts of different searches, and we can kind of give you details of that as we kind of work through. But it's almost like a kind of search consolidator, if you like. It's a one-stop shop. So we are building integration with InfoTrack, and that will be within Feature Pack 2, as well as for a few of our clients who are interested in the iManage. Continuing to use iManage, we're also introducing integration with the iManage document management system. Feature Pack 3, which has been scheduled, is going to be due out in July. A couple of document management changes that a few people have asked for around uploading email fields into DMS. Uploading emails into DMS as managed emails. The fields is in the wrong place there. A few more purchase ledger enhancements. The same, moving into banking, the same usability enhancements that basically we're adding for the auto bank rec will be moving on to the manual bank rec as well. You can see there's a couple of financial postings, greater ability to control posting date of regular postings, optionally including business closure days and receipt against the net elements of billed ADs. And then just kind of moving through then a couple of extra billing pieces, credit note reversals, approval of write down time on bills, client matter level VAT rate that can kind of be inherited through, and the ability to automatically post TT fees when a bill is approved. Then we're just focusing a little bit on the desktop time recording in Feature Pack 3, giving people the ability to post pending time from within the desktop time recording, so it doesn't have to be posted immediately to a ledger, for example, and also the ability for people to modify that start and end time within the desktop timer as well. Alongside everything that's kind of going on within these feature packs in the kind of medium term, and this is kind of stuff that's, we're looking to kind of get into, the kind of bigger major release, if you like, but stuff that there's work ongoing with. Set regarding email tracking, which we appreciate for a lot of our users is an issue. So we're working closely with Microsoft and doing a lot of internal testing around some of their new applications around this. So things like server-side synchronization, the lightweight Outlook application that they've recently released. So we're doing a lot of R&D work and a lot of testing, a lot of communicating with Microsoft in order to sort of assess these new technologies and see basically if they're going to give our clients any benefits over the kind of existing Outlook plugin, if you like. So we'll be releasing, once we've kind of completed that work, we'll obviously be kind of communicating that back out to you guys. Obviously talking to Microsoft product, about their roadmap for Outlook and the Exchange integration, what's kind of going on with the current Outlook plugin. You may well have heard actually that Microsoft did announce that they were sort of depreciating the Outlook plugin and replacing it with the new lightweight Outlook app. That's not the case anymore. They've kind of reversed that based on feedback they were having from clients. So just to make that clear in case anyone's wondering what's going on there. We also have, as kind of part of this year, an uplift of the technology behind the document management system. So we're looking to bring that into SharePoint 2016 SharePoint Online. That's kind of taking up a chunk of our time at the moment. But also alongside that, one of the things that we're looking at, and I know this is just a bit of a pain for people at the moment, is synchronizing the security between Peppermint CX and SharePoint. So if you lock down a matter in CX, it's going to lock down the matter folder, if you like, in SharePoint for the same users. So we're kind of looking at that as part of that project. Ongoing, and we'll be getting your feedback on some of this work around reporting. We're starting to kind of plug into things like Power BI, and we're looking at a lot of our standard reports and dashboards and seeing kind of how we can tidy those up, make those easier to use, and introduce new reports where appropriate. And sort of already mentioned the report standardization work that's been going on. Another thing that I'm sort of looking at the moment is the new portal product. So we're introducing, within this year, and one of the things that we're looking into is an updated version, if you like, of the portal. We won't be kind of getting rid of the previous portal. People who use that can still continue to use that, but we're looking at the Dynamics portals technology that's kind of available from Microsoft. Makes sense for us to use that, which if you kind of want to look into it, it used to be known as ADX Studio, and that's what we're going to be basing our new portal on. We'll be taking the functionality that we get out of the box, and then we'll be kind of enhancing that to kind of give it all the functionality that we want to kind of add in that. And that'll be, that's kind of when Lauren was talking about feature forums earlier, this is the kind of thing that we'll perhaps look to get a few of you guys together and start kind of planning out. Okay, so here's just a summary slide then of the key points of what's coming. So feature pack 1, we had DM for leads and opportunities, usability improvements for the Trans Rec Hub, Bill Finder, some multi-company bits in the Connection Explorer Phase 2. Feature pack 2, a couple of big integration pieces, InfoTrack, iManage, GDPR Phase 2 stuff, auto bank rec improvements, billing hub usability, document hub usability, and then purchase ledger reversals, which I know is a big one for quite a lot of people. Some desktop time recording enhancements in feature pack 3, manual bank rec, billing enhancements, financial postings, and purchase ledger again. And then in the medium term, and this is kind of where we are going to be looking to get much more input from you as a user base. I've already kind of called out Portal and SharePoint 2016. And this isn't an exhaustive list at all. We've got a large backlog of user enhancements and so on. But just kind of calling out some of these bits, we've got some additional standard reports that we're looking to build into the product, some enhancements around the SCTT, the kind of import tool for moving documents and form rules and things between organizations. We've had a number of people asking about matter budgeting templates. Quite a few people actually have been inquiring about potential integration with Workshare, which is document comparison software, and we've had a meeting with these guys. That's another one that's kind of sat there with us, looking at the moment. Referral management from a CRM perspective, and this is a deliberately kind of broad feature, if you like. I've just put in there further finance enhancements, and as Lauren said, this is where we want to kind of start engaging, more really with you as a user base than perhaps we have in the past. And to that end, what I wanted to just briefly show you, this isn't a finished product. This is a proof of concept that I put together, which is why the branding is so terrible. We'll get somebody with a slightly better eye to brand this up for us. But one of the things that we're going to be introducing over the coming months is a new support portal for you guys as clients, where you can kind of log support calls, track your support calls, etc. One of the things we're going to be building into that is the ability for you to log enhancement requests. Okay, and we'll call it ideas on here. So this will be the new enhancement request process. But basically, any enhancement request that you log will be visible within this ideas forum to all users. Okay, and then you've got the ability then to kind of come in and vote for ideas that you like or that you agree with, and obviously kind of add your comments or perhaps indicate that you'd be interested in joining, having some input into the design of that particular feature. So these will be broken down by the product areas that Lauren went through with you earlier. So just to kind of give you an example, you'd log into your support portal in the usual way. And then if I'm interested in perhaps what's going on in billing, what people are talking about in billing, I can click into billing. And just for those of you who perhaps were sort of had your kind of ears pricked by the portal enterprise portal item on the roadmap, this is using the same technology. Okay, so it's almost like a bit of a sneak preview as to some of the things that you can kind of do with the Dynamics portal. So there's a lot more. So say, for example, here's a forum on finance billing. You can see here, I've got top, hot, and new. I can kind of filter these down, so what's been accepted, what's been rejected, what's new, etc. And then for each of these kind of items, I can kind of drill into it if I want to. Somebody's put a suggestion on to import the MT940 format bank statements. And then if you want to, you can then vote that up. Okay, and there's lots of different ways we can give you to vote. We're a little bit undecided yet, so we'll be experimenting with them. We can give you unlimited votes. We can give you the ability to vote down. We can say you can only have 5 votes per forum. So the exact format of it, we're sort of undecided at the moment, but we'll play around with it. But you can add comments in here as well. This is a great idea, and we can post comments within there. But also from within that ideas forum, if you like, let's just kind of post that in. Obviously, all of the comments are from me at the moment. Just bear with me. Like I said, it's a preview environment. There we go. Excellent. So there's my comment that's been logged. But if I go back to the kind of main finance area, I can also submit new ideas in here as well. New idea, just to stop you guys from waiting around, and I can submit that, and then everybody else can then log in and they can kind of catch up on what's new, and then vote on it or add their own comments as well. So as all of these ideas get logged within here, okay, they are then tracked within our Dynamics CRM system. So we can do things like set up workflows to email you if an idea you've submitted has been accepted or rejected. So we can kind of keep you informed on that. And we've got our own kind of dashboards and etc. set up as to, well, what ideas are getting the same votes, etc. Now, obviously, there's going to have to be a bit of a, we're going to have to look at each one. If you've kind of got 25 people in your firm and you kind of convince them all to vote on the same idea, obviously that's the kind of thing that's going to get flagged up to us. So we'll have to be a bit pragmatic about it, but it just enables us to get a little bit more sort of information from you guys as to what you're looking for specifically from within the product. So that was our kind of roadmap summary. Just to kind of take you to our last slide, just a summary of kind of what's going to be going on. Hopefully you found that useful. We'll be doing quarterly webinars, and the next one will be in June. I don't imagine it will take anywhere near as long as this one did, perhaps, because we had quite a lot of stuff to cover around the new sort of deployment mechanisms, etc. Keep an eye out for the new ideas portal that will be being released over the kind of coming weeks and months. Again, it's the same for feature forums. We'll be sort of looking to, invite and get you guys to participate in certain features that will be being released. A couple of surveys are going to go out immediately when we kind of close off the webinar, and you'll get emailed a link as well. Will just be a quick survey around this webinar. There's about 14 questions or something, but all multiple choice, nice and quick. It'd be really, really useful for you guys to just fill that out and let us know what you think about, us communicating to you in this way. What do you think about the roadmap, etc. Medium term, until we get that ideas portal completely up and running for you, we will be sending out a product roadmap feedback survey, okay, which will be touching off of a lot of those things that we've kind of got in the medium to longer term, just to kind of get your input as to what you think is most important. And then finally, we've got the user conference coming up on April the 25th and 26th. If you haven't yet, please sign up. We're going to be doing a number of, there's a lot of great speakers and third parties going to be there. We're also running a few product workshops. Rich will be doing his usual kind of cool techie, machine learning type technical session. I'll be covering off what we dub as the case management session, but we'll be looking at things like set regarding issues, and we'll be having a preview of the new portal product. Russ, our new sort of CRM consultant, will be doing a BD marketing session, and Darren will be doing a finance session. And in all of those, again, we encourage you to kind of come with ideas and feedback, so we can start kind of gathering that from you. So all it remains for me to say is, thank you very much for attending. If there are any questions in the question box that haven't been answered, we will send out a round robin email later with a kind of summary of those. But thank you very much. Please fill out the survey, and we'll speak to you next time in June, if not at the user conference. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.